Xbox Series X, most powerful console ever? Let's talk about its price. What's up everybody, Brad here, kicking off the new year talking about something you guys have been asking a lot about, the pricing for the next generation Xbox. Microsoft has been hyping this thing up with the reveal back in December, and we've known some of the specs, including a custom designed processor from AMD, which is really just a Zen 2 Plus with Navi graphics. It's going to be twice as powerful as the Xbox One X, capable of running games at 120 Hz refresh rate, up to 8K resolution, ray tracing, solid state storage, which we already know about, compatible with all your Xbox One accessories, including the Elite Series 2, and of course, a physical disk drive. And that's just kind of skirting around the surface of what's going on here, because there's been a lot of information over the past, about 10 days or so, where some benchmarks have leaked out. And I'm going to give a big shout out to Richard Ledbetter. He has done an excellent job of kind of reverse engineering how you could get to those benchmark scores, what kind of shaders, architecture you would need, the speed, the gigahertz, and all that good stuff. And so if you haven't read his post, you should definitely go over to Eurogamer and check it out. And I'm not going to dig through it because it would be doing a disservice to how well he has done kind of piecing this stuff together. But he's pointed out some really important things that I want to bring up. One, what he has determined, at least from these specs, and this is not finite or definitive, this is based on the best available information that we know right now. And I've been saying this for a while. Internally at Microsoft, their target was to have the most powerful next generation console. And according to what Ledbetter has dug up, yeah, that is exactly true. It looks like the Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 5. Now, what he does point out though, and I think this is important, is that the PlayStation 5 next generation specs look like they're going to be a little bit underpowered compared to the Series X, but that also means that they're going to be less to produce, or lower price to produce. Because pricing, if you're not aware, has a big influence on consumer purchases. If you go take any college level course on marketing, they will tell you that consumers are extremely price sensitive. If something is $10 more than the competing brand, they will choose the lower option almost all the time. Now there's caveats there, but the idea here is that if you price things that are similar items but at different prices, people generally choose the cheaper item. Now you may not want to think that Xbox and PlayStation are similar items, but to the moms and dads who go out and buy this stuff for Christmas or little Timmy's birthday, they are basically the same thing. They play games, they play pretty much the same games except for some exclusives, but they play all the sports games, a lot of the racing games. You guys understand where I'm heading with this. So pricing is a big deal. And we also know that from the launch of the Xbox One, which was $100 more than the PlayStation 4 when it came out. So what I'm trying to say here is that I think we need to be prepared for a pretty expensive Xbox Series X. Microsoft has a lot of tricks up its sleeve about how it can adjust the price of the console when it launches. Now, I don't have any definitive numbers, and Microsoft may not actually know the number yet, but we will just kind of work in generalities. So when you ship a console, you have three basic options. Well, this really works for any type of good, right? You can sell it at a loss, you can sell it for what it costs to make it, or you can bundle it with other things to try to increase the perceived value. And what I mean by that is, let's say the console costs $600 to make. Microsoft could sell it for $499 and absorb that loss as a subsidized cost, assuming that they are going to make that money back because they'll get more market share, and more market share means more games sold. And when more games sell, Microsoft makes a royalty off of each and every game sold. So that is one way. Obviously, they can just produce it at cost, right? It costs $499 or $599 to make, and then Microsoft sells it at $599, and they just don't take any. They don't make any money, but they don't lose any money. And then of course they can also do bundles, right? Microsoft can do a lot of things to raise that perceived value. Let's say it is $599, but then you get 2 years of Game Pass, right? Game Pass, then they can market it as, hey, look, you can buy this console and then you don't need to spend any more dollars for 2 years and you will have access to 100 plus games. Although I thought it was over 200 at one point. Anyways, it's at least 100 plus games in Game Pass and you don't need to spend any more money. And that raises the perceived value of the console because you're getting all those games at launch included with the hardware. And you got to remember, consumers are very price sensitive, If there are two like goods and one is more expensive than the other, consumers almost always choose the cheaper option, even if there is slightly tangible more benefits on the more expensive version. And the reason for this is such a big deal is because a lot of people buying these consoles, especially in volume, are going to be parents going to buy the console for their kid. And hey, if they see two consoles and they both play games, they're going to choose the less expensive version, which is why price is such a big deal. You got to remember, when the Xbox One launched, it was at $499. The PlayStation was at $399. Now, granted, the Xbox One came with a Kinect, But we all know the story. They had the TV issue. They had Kinect didn't take off in any meaningful way. And the PlayStation just really trounced on it out of the gate early on. And it really handed PlayStation or Sony the console generation for that matter. Although Microsoft has made good leaps and bounds in the second half of the Xbox generation, Xbox One generation. But here we are. So there's a couple things to also keep in mind too. There was a time when Microsoft, before they launched the original Elite, which I was looking for mine, I can't quite grab it. There were some executives, I'm not making this up, inside the company said, hey, why gamers aren't going to pay, or specifically Xbox gamers aren't going to pay a premium for a controller. And they launched the Xbox Elite at $150. And a lot of people inside of Microsoft thought, hey, this thing's going to flop. Nobody's going to pay for this thing. And if you remember, there were serious market share, not market share, but volume or product in the market issues, right? It was back ordered for a very long time. The pipeline of Xbox Elite controllers was overwhelmed by the orders, and people were like, oh my God, people actually want this controller. And so we know that that controller was an inevitable success because Microsoft launched the Series 2 at $179.99, a premium over the $149.99 Elite controller initially. And so they came back and said, look, these gamers are actually willing to pay a premium. They're going to pay a premium for that better performance or that better experience. I believe that Microsoft used that as evidence to justify the fact that the Series X can be the most powerful console, even if it is more money. I am fully expecting that this console at minimum will cost $499. I think $599 may not be out of the realm of possibilities for this. Now, there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh my God, $600 for a console, that is crazy. And it really is. But if you look on paper, what we know so far about the performance, benefits, and improvements over that of the alleged PS5 specifications, which are starting to materialize and look pretty dang real, this might be Microsoft's competitive edge. Is look, we're invested in all these studios and we have the most powerful console. Yes, you're going to pay a premium, but Microsoft looks at their paper and say, look how many people bought the Series 2 controller. Look how many people bought the Elite. There is definitely a market for these high-end gamers in the console world. It does exist. I am one of them. I would pay $599 for Series X if it offers 4K guaranteed 60 frames per second. I don't think that's outrageous, but this is why Microsoft also is working on Lockhart. They know that there's a sizable portion of the market that is going to be price sensitive. Now, assuming, and this is a bad assumption, but my guess is that Sony is going to launch the PlayStation 5 somewhere around the same price as they launched the PlayStation 4, which was $399. I am betting that Microsoft is trying to make the Lockhart console cost less than the PlayStation 5. Yes, it will have slower and not as good as performance, but it will still play next generation games, and it really will appeal to that value gamer who wants a next generation console but doesn't necessarily want to pay $400. Now, that might be a hard target to hit. I don't know. If you look at what the current Xbox One series or Xbox One X is selling at about $350, I think that's probably about the spot that Microsoft is probably trying to hit with their next generation console, because you can imagine they knocked down the Xbox One X to like, I don't know, $229, something like that, and then they have all these other consoles. We'll see. But you got to remember, on the low end of the Xbox size, we have the Xbox All Digital Edition at $149. There was a time and place where people were thinking, hey, Lockhart might cost $199. I don't think that's a possibility. If you look at how old the Series or Xbox One S is, and it's only at $149 now, to launch a brand new console at $199, that would be very, very difficult to do. So I would expect the Anaconda Series X, maybe up to $499 to $599. I would expect Lockhart somewhere between $299 and hopefully $349. That way it undercuts the PlayStation 5, achieves Microsoft's goal, and then also has, again, lower performance. But then Microsoft also caters to that high-end console gamer, which they know does exist. If you should launch a PlayStation 5 at $399, that would give Microsoft a really solid strategy to ship hardware. Now, when is Microsoft going to talk about all this? We don't quite know. I originally thought that Microsoft was going to announce the Series X right before E3. That has been historically what they've done. If you remember with the Xbox One, I believe that they announced it and did like the big reveal at E3, and then pre-orders went up around the June timeframe. I would expect Microsoft to do the similar thing. They're going to want to open those pre-orders up early, and I will obviously be ordering on day one a Series X, regardless of the price, unless it comes in way too high. But I would expect that Microsoft knows its market now much better, and they've been really doing a good job at trying to establish what is going on in the market and how they can address it with a console. Gamers have proven on the PC side that they will pay premium for premium experiences. Microsoft has a little bit of evidence that they will do that on the console side. Now you could argue it's like, hey Brad, but they didn't pay a premium experience for the Kinect. I think the Kinect didn't work because people want a console gaming machine. They don't want to stand in their living room and flail their arms and jump around. Maybe that works for a small demographic, but we have other evidence that suggests that that's the case because VR hasn't caught on in a lot of ways that many people thought it would. It still might, but it's not as big of a market, if you will, as a traditional console gaming. So there we go, guys. There's talking a little bit about the pricing. I'd love to know what you guys would actually pay. And does a $599 price point sound kind of scary? For some people, it absolutely is. $600 is not a trivial amount of money. Then again, go look at what a 2080 Ti costs. Go look at what a high-end CPU costs. Go build out a 4K 60 frames per second, 120 hertz refresh rate PC and see how much that costs you. I think Microsoft is trying to find that new high-end market while also offering a value proposition in the Xbox world. The question is, will a two-console strategy pay off for them, or will everyone just gravitate towards that lower price? Even if that's true, Microsoft could still have a win at the value end. Now, how will this affect PlayStation pricing and PlayStation strategy? We still have to wait and see. Sony's been a little bit more cagey with announcing some of their details. Microsoft is just running out full steam ahead. And I can expect, or I would expect, I'd say, knowing Phil Spencer now for a couple of years, that if they prove that they have the truly better, higher performant console, they will be screaming that from the rooftops. They did it with the Xbox One X. They will absolutely do it with the Series X. And they're probably trying to craft a really good marketing strategy for the Lockhart, or what I think will honestly be called the Series S. One other thing I want to point out too, now that we've got all these series names, it kind of makes the Elite Series 2 make a little bit more sense. Remember when they announced the Elite controller, we're like, Elite, yeah, and then it's like Series 2, and everyone's like, that makes no sense. And it really didn't at the time, but now that we see it's Xbox Series X, it kind of does. It kind of fits into that narrative. The Series 2 was just a little premature and didn't quite fit the bill for the marketing scheme at the time, but now it does. Now it makes sense. Hit that subscribe button. We'll catch all of you right back here next time.